welcome to fourth grade English Language Arts. I am Mrs. Gooch of Mark Twain Elementary. You might have heard adults tell you to read books that you enjoy in order to become a better reader. What they might also have mentioned is how important it is to understand the words in your book in order to enjoy it. When we don't understand all of the words in a book, we're missing really important information. It's like watching a good movie, but walking out and missing important parts of it. It's hard to enjoy a book if we don't understand the words. So, one of the first things we do when we close read a book is determine the meaning of new words. Let's read the learning target together. Ready? Begin. I will determine the meaning of new words in a story. To determine something means to find out, like a detective. See my magnifying glass? This person is thinking carefully about the new word they see in the text they are reading. They're thinking things like, have I heard this word? What do I know about this word? What could it mean? Let's read the success criteria together. Ready? Begin. I can use context clues and word parts to determine the meaning of a new word. There are two different vocabulary strategies being described here, two different tools we can use to determine the meanings of words. One is context clues. The word context has two roots, actually a root and a prefix. Con means within or inside. Text means the words that you're reading. So inside the words that you're reading are clues that tell you what the other words mean. And we look at word parts. Roots, like text, and prefixes, like con, and suffixes, which are parts that go on the end of the word. Let's look at a quick example. It is helpful to learn new words. The word helpful has a root word, help, which is to make things easier, and a suffix, full, which means full of. Helpful, full of help. Someone who's going to help you out is helpful. Also, we can use context clues. We see where it says learning new words is helpful, and we know that understanding words makes reading easier. So maybe help means make something easier. Context clues and word parts will help us determine the meanings of new words so we can enjoy our stories. Reading is also fun when we choose books that interest us. This book, Robert's Rules, interested me because I saw on the cover what looks like a campground. I saw cabins, these boats called canoes, trees, a lake. I thought, I have never been to a big overnight camp like this before, just on little camping trips. I wonder what it would be like to go on one. I was curious, so I thought this book might be interesting to share with you. We have a tool we're going to make reading easier. To make this tool, you will need a piece of paper and something to write with. Okay, let's get started making our tool. The first thing we will do is put the title of the book, Robert's Rules, and the author of the book, Anne Miranda, at the top of this piece of paper. Get your writing instrument and paper ready and write this along with me at the top of the page. We'll write it up at the top, the title, Robert's Rules. Then I'm going to put a little hyphen, a little dash mark, and I'm going to explain who wrote it. I write by Anne spelled with an E. Miranda. Now I will go ahead and get the top of my paper ready for us to do our word detective work. I'm going to write the word word here. This is where we will write words down and do some thinking about context clues and word parts. Then way over here, here's the center, a little past the center, I'm going to put the word or the letters PG and a dot. This stands for page. And I'm going to make a line going down as carefully as I can. One trick that sometimes works if you have a hard time making a straight line is to fold the paper and then draw on the fold. I want another line on the other side where it says page. And then over here, I'm going to write the word meaning. So it says word with lots of room, page with a little bit of room, and meaning with just some room. And now I'll write a line. Every time I'm finished writing about a new word, I'll draw a line under it to keep them separate. Now that this top of this tool is prepared and the lines go all the way down to the bottom, I want to fold this so I can use it as sort of a bookmark. So I'm going to turn it over. And fold the bottom till it's about halfway up. I'm folding this into thirds or 3 pieces. Then I fold this part up like this. And now I've got a quick and easy place to write my words as I'm reading. It also doubles as a handy bookmark. When you are reading a chapter book, it can be very useful to have a bookmark to save where you stopped reading last. Okay, we have our book, we have our tool, we have something to write with. We are ready to begin reading Robert's Rules by Anne Miranda. Here are the first 2 pages of the story. When I start reading a book that has pictures, sometimes I look at the pictures first to get an idea of what's happening. Can you see where the story is taking place by looking at the pictures? It looks like they're in some kind of car, doesn't it? That is the setting or where the story is taking place. So I wonder what's happening inside the car. I see 2 people in the car. Let's find out what's going on by reading our story. Robert looked out the window from the back of his mother's station wagon. He hadn't said more than 2 words since they had left the house over an hour ago. "You see, it's not so bad," said Mom as cheerfully as she could. Robert gazed out at the endless stretch of trees. I'm going to pause there for a moment because that sentence has several new important words. Let's check out some of these words and see if we can think about their meaning. This word, gazed. I'd like to think about the word gazed. Let's get our tool and add it. Here's our tool. Get ready to write with me. Get your pencil ready and your paper. Let's write the word gazed. Let's write down what page it's on. I'll check. Oh, it's on page 2. Now, Have you heard that word before? If you think you already know what gazed means, you can write down some thinking under meaning. But let's look for some clues. Well, when I see ED, I know it's something he did he did in the past. So we're listening to the story being told about that time he was in the station wagon and he gazed. And the root word is gaze, which will help you if you know what gaze means. But what if we don't know what the root word gaze means? We'll need to use some context clues. Pictures and text both give us context clues. Let's check the text first. It says, Robert gazed out at the endless stretch of trees. Let's write that down. Robert, and I'm going to put quotation marks. Do you see I'm putting quotation marks? When I write the same words that the author wrote, I use quotation marks to tell my reader that these are not my words. These are Anne Miranda's words. Robert gazed out at, and I'm going to show you another trick. I don't want to write the entire sentence. I can just say ... trees. So gazing was something he was doing out at trees. Let's look at the picture for some other context clues. What is he doing? He's got his hand on his head, one hand on the seat. You see how he's kind of looking up? What are the trees doing? The trees are outside of the car. If we look at the other picture, we can also see that he's looking out. Gazing could be looking out at the trees. And do you see how he's looking? Does he look very happy? He looks kind of quiet, maybe a little sad about something. So maybe gazing is a kind of looking. And it might be something you're doing quietly. What other things did you write down about the word gazed? Did you come up with any other thinking about the meaning? I'll go ahead and put a line underneath the word gazed. And let's see if we can collect another word from this sentence. It says he was gazing out, looking out at an endless stretch of trees. Endless stretch of trees. Endless is an interesting word. Let's write that on our tool. Write it down with me. Endless. I see one word in here that I know. That is a root word. What does it say? End. And less is a suffix. That means without. So this could be something that is without end. This is also on page 2. Endless, without end. Let's put a line under this word too. So we have collected 2 new words, gazed and endless. These words are important. They help us to understand how Robert is acting right now. When he's gazing out at the endless stretch of trees, it tells us not only how he's acting, but how he feels about it. He sees the trees as going on and on forever. And when he goes on to say, "You didn't tell me the camp was in the middle of the woods," we can start to think about how he feels about camp. And that's a clue about where we're going. Here it says, Robert still wasn't sure he was going to like camp. He had never been to a camp before. He wasn't sure he'd be able to figure out what to do. Hmm. It will be all right, said his mother. You'll figure out the rules. Part of going to camp is learning how to do new things. How did you know what I was thinking? Asked Robert. I'm your mother, his mother said. I'm supposed to know what you're thinking. So we found two new words so far in the beginning of our story, where it's taking place in the car or station wagon. Did we use context clues and word parts to think about the meanings of those words? I think so. If you can use that skill to think about the meanings of new words while you're reading, then you are meeting our learning target. You are able to determine the meaning of new words in a story and think about it like this reader here. And that will help you enjoy stories a lot more. Next time, we will find out what happens when Robert gets to the camp. Will he like it there or will he not? What do you think based on the clues in the details we've read so far? Keep reading and finding books you love every day. Welcome to fourth grade math. I'm Mrs. Gooch of Mark Twain Elementary. We'll be working with some large numbers today. Sometimes we get a little worried when we see a very large number in a math problem. The secret to understanding large numbers is understanding place value. I want to show you something that I've made. I took a piece of cardboard from the top of a pizza box. and cut it into this rectangular shape. Does this look familiar? Have you ever seen this in your classroom? It says ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. This is a place value chart. We're going to use this tool to understand large numbers better. Let's look at today's learning target and success criteria. Let's read the learning target aloud together. I will use a place value chart to understand how each place is related to the place next to it. What do you remember about the word place value? Down here at the bottom, I have written a number in a place value chart. How do we say this number? All right, we start with the hundreds and say 432. We know how to say each of these digits because of where it is. Where something is called its place. The place where the 4 is in the hundreds place. So we know that it's 400. What about the word related? Perhaps you've heard your family referred to as your relatives. Related is how something interacts with something else. What do these numbers have to do with each other? How are they the same and how are they different? Let's read our success criteria together. This is how we will know we have learned the learning target. Ready? Begin. I can multiply a digit by its place value to show its value and write the number in expanded form. Do you remember hearing about expanded form in class? Let's take a look at what we have down here. The number 432 has been broken up into pieces. Each of these digits has gotten its own place. This 2 is being multiplied by 1. This 3 is being multiplied by 10. This 4 is being multiplied by 100. Why do you think the 2 is counting ones, the 3 is counting tens, and the 4 is counting hundreds? When we solve this expression, we get 400 plus 30 plus 2. So this number has gotten stretched out to this expression. To expand something means to stretch it out. Let's write that in. Stretched out. Get your writing instrument ready and let's write a big number together. Right here at the top of our paper. I'm writing them really big. A big 2 with a comma. Another 2 another 2, and another 2. I've written 4 2s. What number did I just write? How do you say this number? Say it with me. 2,222. What value are each of these 2's? Let's look at a place value chart. The first 2 is in the ones place. That's counting how many ones there are. 2 ones is just 2. 1, 2. So let's write down the value of that digit. Two times 1, 2. Let's see the next digit. This 2 is counting tens. It is in the tens place. So there are 2 tens, or 2 times 10. What is 2 times 10? Do you remember how to count by tens? Let's take a moment to remember. Multiples of 10, or skip counting by 10, looks like this. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and so on. There are 2 tens, so we skip count twice. 10, 20. 2 times 10 is 20. Okay. There's another neat trick multiplying by 10 I'll show you. Just remember, 2 times 10 is 20. We put a 0 in the ones place because the 2 went from the ones place to the tens place. It is 10 times bigger. So there's nothing left in the ones place, and so we put a 0. So this 2 is worth 20. This 2 is worth 2. Put them together. What number do we have so far here? Right, 22. Let's put the value of that 2. 2 times 10 is 20. Go ahead and write that down. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 10 is 20. So what's going to happen with the next digit? What place value is this 2 in? It's in the hundreds. So it's counting how many hundreds. There are 2 hundreds. How do we count by 100s? Do you remember? Multiples of 100, or skip counting by 100, looks like this. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and so on. There are 200s, so we skip count twice. 2 times 100 is 200. Let's write the value of this 2. 2 times 100 is 200. What happens if we add another 2? What place value is this 2 in? It's in the thousands. So there are 2 thousands. How do you skip count by thousands? Do you remember? Multiples of 1,000, or skip counting by 1,000, looks like this. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, and so forth. There are 2 thousands. So we go skip counting twice. 1,000, 2,000. 2 times 1,000 is 2,000. Let's write this down. 2 times 1,000 is 2,000. Remember my trick for showing you 2 times 10 and how we just put the 0 in the ones place because the 2 moves up to the next place value and the left? It works when you go to 2 times 100. 10 times 10 is 100. That's 2 jumps to the left. 2 times 100 is 200. And if we multiply by 10 again, we get 1,000. 2 times 1,000 is 2,000. Every time we multiply by 10, we jump a place value to the left, this way. That means that each of these digits is 10 times bigger than the digit to its right. Thousands are 10 times bigger than hundreds. Hundreds are 10 times bigger than tens. Tens are 10 times bigger than ones. This is the relationship between the different place values. Let's go back to our number that we drew, and let's write it in expanded form. What is the value of this digit? Can you remember which place value it's in? It's in the thousands. So its value is 2,000. We can tell its value by writing the digit and then using zeros for the remaining place values on the right. What about this 2? What place value is it in? That's right, it's in the hundreds. We know this because when we put this digit and put zeros instead of the other two twos, we can see it's worth 200 because of where it is. Its place determines its value. What about this 2? What place value is it in? Right, it's in the tens place. So its value is 20. Let's move down to put the last 2, which is in the ones place. When we add these 4 digits together, we get our number, 2,222. 2,222. This is what we call expanded notation. Remember what we're doing today is using a place value chart to understand how each place is related to the place next to it. The ones place digit is counting how many ones, the tens place digit is counting how many tens, and the hundreds place digit is counting how many hundreds. What number have I made here on my place value chart? 4,275. So what is the value of each digit? Can you write this number in expanded notation? Let's practice and see if we have learned our learning target today. We expand the 4 is worth how much? 4 what? Remember, imagine zeros here instead of the other digits. Right, it's worth 4,000. How about the 2? It's in the hundreds place. It's worth 200. What about that 7? 70. And finally, what about that 5? 4,275, written in expanded form, is 4,275. When added together, they equal this number at the top. If you can correctly tell me the value of each digit in a 4-digit number, you have met the learning target. Have you met the learning target and success criteria? Have you found a way to explain how each of these place values are related to each other? How this one is 10 times more than these, and these are 10 times more than these? What about the success criteria? If I give you a number, are you able to multiply each digit by its place value to show its value and write the number in expanded, stretched out form? Practice with some big numbers of your own until next time when we use these skills to compare big numbers and see which one is bigger and which one is smaller. Meantime, if you want to, you can use your own cardboard around the house to make your own number cards and place value chart to practice with. Until next time, look for the math in everyday life.
Hola y bienvenidos a Matemáticas en cuarto grado en español. Yo soy su maestra, la señora Solano. Empezaremos la lección de hoy. Antes de empezar, vamos a necesitar algunas cosas. Si puedes, agarrar un lápiz para escribir y un papel blanco para escribir algunas notas. Si tienes también 4 lápices de diferentes colores, puedes usar esos también mientras estamos tomando notas, pero no es necesario. Es suficiente tu lápiz y tu papel blanco. Les doy un momento para encontrar estas cosas. Y cuando están listos, pueden decir, ¡listos! ¿Están listos para empezar? Perfecto. Antes de empezar, vamos a hablar sobre el tema. El tema de hoy es el valor posicional. Probablemente han escuchado la frase valor posicional en otra lección de matemáticas, tal vez hasta en otro grado de matemáticas. El valor posicional, su definición es el valor numérico que tiene un dígito en relación a su posición en un número. Hoy vamos a usar el valor posicional para mirar las 3 diferentes maneras en que podemos escribir o mostrar un número. Vamos a usar lo que sabemos para mirar las diferentes formas, especialmente la forma expandida, y vamos a practicar escribiendo los números de 3 dígitos y más en la forma expandida, pensando en el valor posicional del número y de cada parte del número. Seguimos. La meta de aprendizaje. La meta de aprendizaje de hoy, o lo que queremos lograr aprender después de esta lección, es léelo conmigo en voz alta. Yo voy a analizar números de 3 dígitos y reconocer su valor posicional usando numerales en base de 10. Eso es escribir el número normalmente. Forma expandida. Eso es cuando estamos rompiendo los números en sus partes. Y nombres de números. Eso es en la parte escrita, cuando escribimos el número en la forma escrita. Estas son las 3 diferentes maneras en que vamos a practicar escribiendo los números y sus formas, sus palabras, sus nombres técnicas, que no vamos a usar estos nombres para representar los números. Vas a escuchar forma expandida, escrito y normalmente. Pero vamos a hablar sobre eso un poquito más en un ratito. ¿Están listos? Perfecto, seguimos. Alistando nuestro papel. Vamos a tomar el papel blanco que tenemos y lo vamos a dividir en 4 partes, dibujando una línea en el medio hacia abajo y otra línea lado a lado. Esto va a dividir tu papel en 4 partes. Vas a tener 4 cajas. Numera las cajas del 1 al 4, no importa el orden, pero si quieres, sigue mi ejemplo. Número 1 sería en la izquierda, número 2 a la derecha, 3 a la izquierda, 4 a la derecha. Escribe tu nombre y la fecha de hoy en caja número 1. Les doy un momento para alistar sus papeles. Cuando están listos, pueden decir, ¡listos! ¿Están listos? Perfecto. Seguimos. Debajo de su nombre y en caja número 1 pueden escribir el título vocabulario. Aquí van a escribir las palabras que están subrayadas en amarillo. Solo tienen que escribir lo que está en amarillo, no lo demás. Empezamos con número 1, la forma expandida o desarrollada. La forma expandida o desarrollada es una manera de escribir un número para mostrar el valor posicional de cada dígito. Por ejemplo, el número 785 en forma expandida sería así, mostrando que hay 700 en esta parte, 80 y 5. Es como romper el número en sus partes, mostrando los diferentes valores posicionales que tiene el número. Número 2. La forma estándar. Eso es como vemos los números escritos normalmente. Por ejemplo, 11.235. Así es como lo vemos escrito en libros, en la tienda, donde normalmente estamos. Y número 3, los números escritos en palabras. Como este ejemplo, 983. La forma escrita en palabras está a la izquierda y la forma estándar está a la derecha. Los dos quieren decir la misma cosa, solo están representados en diferentes maneras. Tomen un minuto para asegurarse que tienen las palabras subrayadas en amarillo en el caja número 1 en su papel. ¿Lo tienen? Perfecto. Pueden decir listos para seguir. Perfecto, seguimos. Vamos a practicar primero con el número 278. En sus notas en caja número 2 pueden dibujar una tabla como la mía que tengo en mi pantalla, mostrando centenas, decenas y unidades. Al lado de su tabla pueden escribir el número 1, 2 y 3. Asegúrense que tienen suficiente espacio para escribir al lado de los números en la caja número 2 en sus papeles. Número 1 vamos a usar para escribir el número 278 en la forma expandida. Luego vamos a usar número 2 para escribir el número en la forma estándar. Y vamos a usar el número 3 para escribir el número en palabras. Empezando con número 1, vamos a escribirlo en la forma expandida o desarrollada. Recuérdense que eso es cuando estás rompiendo el número en sus partes para mostrar la posición de cada número. Empezando con el valor más grande. Mirando este número, yo sé que el valor más grande tiene que ser 200, porque es el número más a la izquierda del número. Entonces aquí pongo 200. Ven que no estoy poniendo 278, solo estoy poniendo 200, porque solo quiero mostrar las centenas que están en ese número. Luego estoy moviendo a las decenas. En este número, las decenas que tiene serían 70. Yo sé eso porque estoy moviendo hacia la derecha en el número. Y lo que me queda serían mis unidades, que son 8. Aquí tengo ahora el número 278 en la forma expandida. Así se miraría. Asegúrense que están escribiendo este ejemplo en caja número 2 conmigo. Número 2. La forma estándar. Recuérdense que la forma estándar es como vemos el número escrito normalmente. Algunas veces puedes escuchar esto escrito como en base de 10. Sería lo mismo. Escribiría 278 en forma estándar. Finalmente tengo en palabras. Aquí puedes escribir el número en palabras y al lado puedes escribir el número en la forma estándar también. Estoy pensando, ¿cómo lo puedo escribir en forma de palabras? Empiezo con la parte más grande, 200. 200. Muevo al próximo. Y mis unidades, 8. Al lado puedo poner el número en forma estándar también. Son lo mismo, solo están representados de dos diferentes maneras. En tu tabla, aquí, escribe las centenas, decenas y unidades. Esto es como la forma expandida de aquí, pero escrito en tu tabla. Centenas son las partes más grandes de este número. Sería 200 aquí. Decenas sería 70. Mis unidades serían 8. Toma un momento para escribir esto en tu caja número 2 en tus notas, en tu papel. Y pueden decir listos cuando están listos. Les doy un momento. ¿Están listos? Perfecto. Seguimos con número 2. Lee el número 2 conmigo. Escribe el número 1455 en sus formas diferentes. Igual que en la otra pregunta, vamos a escribir el número 1, número 2 y número 3. Esto iría en tu caja número 3 en tus notas. Aquí, en número 1, vamos a empezar con la forma expandida. Luego vamos a escribirlo en la forma estándar. Y vamos a terminar con escribir el número en palabras. Si quieres dibujar otra tabla, está bien, pero no es necesario. Es solo otra manera de visualmente ver cómo está rompido el número. Empezamos con la forma expandida. Recuérdense que es una manera de visualizar cómo está rompido el número en sus valores posicionales. Aquí quiero romperlo en las partes más grandes primero. Eso sería 1000. Y sé eso porque hay una coma en el número y eso me quiere decir que es un número más grande y que va a tener un número al lado izquierdo, que significa que aquí en este ejemplo es mi valor posicional más grande. Luego, sé que hay 400 yendo hacia la derecha, 50 y mis unidades de 5. Escribiéndole en la forma estándar es exactamente como se mira y en palabras. Intenta antes de que yo les muestre mi respuesta. Toma un momento. ¿Cómo lo escribiría esto en palabras? Empezaría con 1455. ¿Tienes eso también? Perfecto. Muy bien. Chequean sus respuestas también en sus notas con los míos. ¿Tienen la misma cosa? ¿Sí? Perfecto. Si hicieron la tabla, escriben las diferentes partes en su tabla y seguimos. ¿Están listos? Listos. Perfecto. Seguimos. Intentan también en sus notas en cuadro número 4. Intentan escribir en la forma expandida primero. La forma estándar y en palabras. Ok. Intentan primero solos y luego vamos a repasar las respuestas todos juntos. Primero con la forma expandida. Otra vez, si quieren dibujar la tabla, está bien, pero no es necesario. Empiezan con la forma expandida. Escriben el número 387 en la forma expandida. Les doy 5 segundos para escribirlo en la forma expandida. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. ¿Lo tienen como el mío? 300 más 80 más 7. ¿Sí? Perfecto. Buen trabajo. Les doy otros 5 segundos para escribirlo en la forma estándar. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. ¿Tienen como el mío? Perfecto, buen trabajo. Y últimamente, en palabras. Escriben 387 en palabras. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, 7. ¿Lo tienen como el mío? Perfecto. Errores de vocabulario y de letra están bien, ¿ok? No se preocupen sobre eso. Buen trabajo, guys. Eso es todo lo que tengo para ustedes el día de hoy en esta lección. Les veo más tarde. Muchísimas gracias. Bye.